Hello, everyone. This is yours truly, Mr. Strahota, coming to you live from my apartment. And as many of you know, I saw Hamilton the musical twice this past fall and became slightly obsessed with it. So I had plans of finishing out this lesson this week. However, as we are all very clearly aware, we are not at school right now. So, as opposed to completely skipping it, there is no way Mr. Strahota is not going to finish out our Hamilton notes. So, we're going to finish them. Now, just for future reference, everyone, I will try my best when I do screen recordings of notes and explanations for assignments and worksheets, etc. I will try to keep it concise because two reasons. Number one, as I mentioned on Monday, for those of you who are in school, I do not want you to have to sit on your computer and listen to me lecture slash ramble for 15, 20, 25, 30 minutes. All right, nobody probably wants that. Number two, um, as there are a lot of people and teachers trying to upload videos to Google Classroom and to different sites here, since everybody is, for the most part, remotely teaching. The longer videos are, the more time it takes to upload them. So I will try to keep it concise and to the point. If you need to rewatch any of these because I'm trying to move maybe quicker than I would in an actual classroom setting, you of course can watch this as many times as you'd like. So very quickly to review, Alexander Hamilton. Again, one of the forefathers who did not get talked about very much, so Lin-Manuel Miranda decided to make a Broadway musical about him to share his story. So if you were in class, we talked about him last week, Friday. So we're going to finish up and quickly review what we talked about. And if you were gone last week, Friday, this will be good information for you as well. So again, Hamilton, to quickly breeze through this, grew up in the Caribbean islands. He was born sometime either 1755, 1757. No one is quite sure because, again, birth certificates were not super formal back in the day as they are now. And then he was orphaned in 1768. His father abandoned him, and his mother unfortunately passed away when both Hamilton and his mother got sick. Hamilton thankfully survived. His mother unfortunately did not. And then he wrote an essay which basically impressed the community members so much that they wanted to send him to school in America because they felt that he could improve upon his education even more if they were to send him to America. So they brought up a collection and they sent him to America. And again, this is just a visual map of where down in the Caribbean islands he grew up. So down here, he was born in Nevis, which is this red star, and then he moved to St. Croix, and then eventually he's going to come all the way up to America up in here. Now, once he got to America, he will attend King's College in New York, and he will quickly join the Patriot cause, which again, as review, remember, Patriots were in favor of independence from England and the King, whereas Loyalists were in favor of the King and supported England. So Hamilton's on the side that wants American independence, and he starts writing essays against Loyalist supporters. Hamilton also always wanted to fight in the Revolutionary War, so he joins a volunteer militia called the Hearts of Oak, and he will later be elected as a captain of an artillery. Again, an artillery is a group who dealt with artillery items like cannons. He's then invited by George Washington to be his chief aide de camp, which is a very fancy word for being George Washington's assistant, and then he will help command a battalion that helped secure a victory at Yorktown. And if you remember from our last unit, the Battle of Yorktown is when the French alliance would take place, and the French would come over and help the Continental Army defeat England, and the Battle of Yorktown would essentially end the Revolutionary War, and the Continental Army and the Patriots would win. If you were in class Friday, we listened to Right Hand Man, and we talked about what were some of the struggles and problems Washington described as far as the war, and then what were some of Hamilton's ideas for victory. If you were gone on Friday, you can go to YouTube and listen to Right Hand Man. I will propose that you find the edited, clean version because a lot of the Hamilton musical, some of them have a couple expletives in the songs. So in class, I, of course, played the edited, clean version of the songs. I can't control what you listen to at home, but I would advise you listen to the clean, edited version. And now, just really quickly to jump in, I will be posting to classroom the notes sheet. So this is the notes sheet with Hamilton that I would have given you on Friday if you were in class Friday. Remember page 1, which is this page, and page 3, scroll, there we go, this page, are dealing directly with the notes, excuse me, and then page 2 deals with the songs from Hamilton that we would have listened to in class, but you can listen to them on your own at home, and you can fill these out. Now, again, if you don't have this sheet physically printed off, you're always feel free to write on a piece of notebook paper, or if you have a printer at home, you could print this off as well. That would be really helpful too. So I will post this there so you can follow along with the notes on the notes pages, as well as see what Hamilton songs you can listen to. Back to the notes. Come on, pop up. There we go. All right. So after the war, then, Hamilton, he becomes a representative from New York in the Congress of the Confederation. He will eventually, though, resign because he's very frustrated with the Articles of Confederation because of how weak they are. He felt they gave the states way too much power, and it did not give enough power to the central government. So what does Hamilton do? He returns to New York and starts practicing law as a lawyer. We very quickly mentioned he married Eliza Schuyler, who was in a wealthy family, and her father would serve in Congress as well. They would marry at her family's mansion in 1780. And one of the reasons I do bring this up is Eliza is a main character in the Hamilton musical. So if you are somebody who either has listened to the Hamilton musical before or you would like to listen to more of it, you have a little bit of background on who Eliza Schuyler is, because she gets talked about a lot in the Hamilton musical. Now, this is Hamilton right here. Again, whispering something to Benjamin Franklin of some kind. Whoops, sorry. And again, Hamilton gets invited to the Constitutional Convention, which he is very excited about. He supported a strong central government, again, because he knew that in order for the United States to thrive, they would need to be able to raise some revenue through federal taxes. So he was opposed to the idea that states could raise their own revenue and not share. So he presented a plan, however, that was deemed way too similar to England. So a lot of the individuals of the Constitutional Convention were like, listen, Mr. Hamilton, we just defeated England, and now you're trying to present a plan that's really similar to their government style, so we think we should try something different. Hamilton will write the Federalist Papers. He recruits John Jay and James Madison to join him in writing these, essentially defending the Constitution. Hamilton really, really, really liked to write, so he would end up writing 51 of the 85 essays, and he would write them anonymously. Again, Federalists were in favor of a stronger central government. Anti-Federalists were in favor of more power to the states. So, for example, Hamilton was a Federalist. Thomas Jefferson was an Anti-Federalist. In class on Friday, we also listened to Nonstop. So if you were gone Friday, you can feel free to listen to that, or if you want to listen to it again, you may. And the question would be, what are some of Hamilton's personal characteristics, and how do they both help and hurt him? So Hamilton will become the Secretary of Treasury appointed by George Washington in 1789, and he argued that the Constitution's implied powers provide authority to fund national debt, assume state debts, and create the Bank of the United States. So basically, Hamilton said that in order to get the United States out of debt, we need to start raising some federal taxes and create some federal revenue to help build infrastructure, help build schools, universities, etc. So Hamilton was in favor of sharing money throughout the entire 13 states as opposed to just states raising their own revenue. For state debts, Hamilton argued we all fought for freedom, so the U.S. should assume all state debt. And however, some states owed much more than others. And this had to do with the fact of depending on how much damage was done to each state during the Revolutionary War would depend on how much money each state owed and how much damage was done. So Hamilton didn't think it was right that some states had to pay back more than others just because of their geographic locations. So Hamilton was in favor of assuming all state debt to help all the states get up and running, as, again, they were becoming the United States of America. Hamilton will help establish the National Bank. The U.S. obviously had debts from war, but each state had different currencies, as we mentioned in class. So just imagine Wisconsin having their own money and then Illinois having their own paper money. What would the exchange rate be? It would kind of confuse things. So different states had different currencies. So this is a New York bill. This is a state of Pennsylvania bill. That made things really confusing. The national bank would provide financial stability and respected currency for the economy. So then this is a national currency, as you can see here. So this made exchanging money and trade between states much easier when you didn't have different bills. So Hamilton said, quote, "A national debt, if it is not excessive, will be to us a national blessing," which meant that Hamilton felt that if they could take care of the state debts by coming together as a nation, this would be for the better of everybody. So paying it off would raise America's standing and justify taxation. So he was in favor of taxation as long as representation in Congress approved it. Now, this is where in class we would have listened to the cabinet battle. Just to save time, I'm not going to play it for you. You can YouTube this. Again, I would advise you listen to the edited version, but being at home, that's really up to you. Essentially, you're to summarize Jefferson's argument and Hamilton's response, and whose argument do you support and why. So this is a rap battle, so it's pretty fun. Thomas Jefferson is arguing that Virginia shouldn't have to pay more money just because they raise more money in Virginia, and Hamilton basically has a pretty witty response to that. So I would love to see who you support and why. And I will probably create this as an assignment for you actually, so I can hear all of your responses on this song. So Jefferson's view essentially is he's the Secretary of State in Washington's cabinet, and he argued the plan favored wealthy northern creditors, which he did not like. Virginia had very little debt, and you'll hear in the cabinet battle rap that the reason that Virginia doesn't have a lot of debt is because they have a lot of cash crops, and they're not paying their workers. And why did they not have to pay their workers? That is right, ladies and gentlemen, because they had slaves doing all of their work. So if you're not paying your workers, you're going to make a lot of money because that's a lot of revenue coming in. And when you don't have to pay your workers, that's going to be pretty beneficial for you. Obviously, ethically, horribly wrong, but Virginia was making a lot of revenue because they weren't paying any of their workers. The next Hamilton song you should listen to is called "The Room Where It Happened," and this is where Alexander Hamilton, Thomas Jefferson, and James Madison all essentially get in a room and they compromise on this idea of states assuming, the nation assuming states' debts. And you'll have to give the song a listen and explain how and why they come to an agreement and a compromise. So this compromise of 1790 included those three gentlemen, as I mentioned, and the debt plan was approved, and essentially one of the main compromises was that Hamilton said that they could have the state capital, or the national capital, in Washington, D.C., which pleased the Southerners because Washington, D.C. is right on the border of Virginia, which is where James Madison and Thomas Jefferson were both from. This will lead to the emergence of political parties because different divisions will start forming in the cabinet. So Hamilton and Jefferson, although they did compromise, as I just mentioned, they still are on different sides of the aisle in regards to their political party. So Jefferson, Madison, and the opposition will become the Democratic Republican Party, whereas Hamilton is then a Federalist, and Madison and Jefferson are anti-Federalists. The World Was Wide Enough is another Hamilton song, essentially talking about Aaron Burr, who is here, dueling Alexander Hamilton. And as you can see, Hamilton is giving up his shot, is what this is called, which means instead of pointing his gun at his rival, Burr, he's pointing it up in the air, which is basically saying, I don't actually want to shoot you in this duel, but back in this time period, it was found to be cowardly if you turned down a duel. So you'll have to listen to this song, and it's essentially Aaron Burr feeling regret in regards to shooting Hamilton because they should have agreed, but I'll let you listen to the song and get your perspective on that. So, the death in the duel, Hamilton will die from this duel. Aaron Burr, as I mentioned, is here. He's the vice president and longtime rival of Hamilton, and he challenges Hamilton to a duel. Hamilton campaigned against Aaron Burr, and Burr said he insulted his character, so that is why this duel would happen. Hamilton throws his shot, like I just mentioned, but Burr hits Hamilton, and he dies the next day. So, last slide here is Hamilton's legacy. What do you feel is Alexander Hamilton's greatest legacy to America? So look back through your notes to then explain briefly what that is, and I will create an assignment for you here starting probably Monday, March 23rd, and you can explain to me what you feel Hamilton's legacy was. Now, if you are an individual who has listened to the Hamilton musical, like I know some of you have, you will have a little better idea than maybe others, But from the notes, I would love to hear all of your perspectives on this. So, thank you for listening to this. Again, if you need to listen through it again, if I went too quickly, please feel free to do so. And as always here, moving forward, if you have any questions, please feel free to email me or go to the Flipgrid link on your Google Classroom page and please ask me. I hope all of you are healthy, safe, and are having a good time at home. And I miss all of you. Hopefully everything is going well. Thank you.